I've noticed that my Christmas list has changed so much as I've gotten older. And if you really think about it, those changes come because of the changes you may have experienced. Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah. Happy holidays to all. If you are celebrating, happy day to all. If you are just existing, I hope you guys are doing well. It has been quite the year. A lot of big things happened recently for me. Uh, I hit 100K on socials, which is pretty cool. 100K on Instagram, and it's funny. It was something. It was a goal of mine that I had down on my to do list of the year. Hit 100K, and it's funny. It was just a goal in my head, and it wasn't so much about just the number. It was also about what that meant for me. Um, it meant consistency, right? It meant being uncomfortable. Um, it meant, the overall goal, right? That's what all that meant for me. And when I hit that number, I was like, all right, cool, finally. Or not even finally. I was just like, all right, cool, wow, okay, on to the next step in this whole process, right? I think that's the thing about life. As you go through these different aspects of it or different transitions, your needs change, your values change, or your values become a little bit more fortified, if you will. And everything kind of has its purpose. But the thing about your values, the thing about your goals, all of that is insight in terms of you, even your Christmas list. I remember growing up, there was there was one thing on my Christmas list that I had wanted, and I never got it. And now that I'm an adult and I think about the thing that I wanted, and I kind of put myself in my mom's head, like this thing was probably so obsolete, it would get broken, probably messy, right? It just would not function in the best way possible. And back then, it was just a want for me, right? It was just a want because it seemed fascinating. However, in terms of value, it would not last that long. And I got other things that I wanted. Don't get me wrong. Like I got some amazing gifts, but that one in particular, I remember. And then the more I think about it now as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, that just wouldn't have made sense. It would have just been a hot mess, and it would not have turned out the way that I thought it would. I think my expectations would have been much higher than the outcome, right? And now, as an adult, Christmas comes around and the holidays. It is just an interesting time every time you get older because, for me, it becomes the gifts are my goals, right? Goals that I've been able to reach and attain by the end of the year. The gifts are the people, that I can kind of cultivate this space with. The gifts are just a new level of growth and understanding, right? So all of the things that I want in the holidays over time have changed drastically. And also, even my relationships change. And that is always an interesting one. I think I wrote actually a script years ago about this very thing where, there's like a group of friends, they just do their thing, and then every year it changes a little bit. Every year it changes. And you just kind of see the differences, you see the nuance, you see the values change, and why there have been so many transitions in those relationships. It is so interesting when you catch it, right? Because you may not always know why it changed, but sometimes it has to change. Okay. Um, and change is not always a bad thing. It just means that there's a transition. Change is good sometimes. Honestly, change is good. I think a lot of times we fear change because we're not in control of the outcome necessarily. We're not in control of the step by step process. We just see it as like, oh, well, this thing is leaving or this thing has to be adjusted. I might lose this thing. However, not looking at, well, what is my Christmas list, right? Am I asking for an upgraded version of this thing, etc.? I was talking to a client and they mentioned how they send out cards every year. Traditionally, they just send it out to the same people, and then this was the year they finally looked at who they were sending cards to, and they looked at the relationships with those people, and they looked at if those people also sustain that relationship, and who they were sending cards out to this year changed in a big way because they understood, well, I was just doing this out of tradition. However, I realize things have changed, right? I realize the people in my life have changed. I realize how we exist in each other's lives have changed. And I think I talk about this so much because it's glazed over. I think we don't understand the true essence of compatibility with other people. Like what it actually takes to establish a real connection with people in general. Not by force, not by fear. But I also want you to understand what it takes to establish a real connection to your goals. Okay? What are you actually tied to? What is the outcome that you're seeking? Why? Everything has a value system. Okay? So if your goals, for example, were still the same as what they were when you were 5, still the exact same, I highly doubt it. But how similar are they? Are you okay with that? Are there some modifications that you want to implement? I talked to my sister about Christmas, and we make sure that we do what we got to do for Christmas, and we kind of keep that routine kind of going. But it's funny because as you get older, your experiences change the outlook of what it is that you are existing in, or what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're creating, the why behind the what. And I think this time of year for so many people can be this weird limbo or void in terms of like what's going on, what am I supposed to do next, what's happening, how do I feel, who do I have, right? What do I have? What do I want? And does it all work? And I think sometimes there's this pressure to not only like emotionally provide, but sometimes monetarily provide in such a way. But it's like you're at your bottom dollar, literally and figuratively. You're in this emotional debt, you're in this mental debt, you're in this financial debt. but you're still trying to, if you will, support everything and everybody, right? But I think sometimes it's just so cool to take a look at your Christmas list. Take a look at who's on the list this year. Take a look at your own list personally. What did I want for Christmas this year? Was it peace? Was it a solution? Was it a resolution? Was it clarity? Was it love? Was it professional success? And when all those things come, how do you feel? That's a big thing too, because what about when you get all those things that you asked for on your list? Does it change anything? Let's say you get the relationship. Does it change how you're feeling? Sometimes no, because the relationship is not the fix to all the fragmented parts that you are trying to make sense of, honestly. A relationship just adds another component onto your kind of internal responsibilities, truth be told. Because if it's a good relationship, right, now you have to do the work to sustain it. If it's a bad relationship, now you are having to do the work to recognize what do I need to do to change the dynamics of this and make it better, right? If it's monetary success, okay, what are my goals and how practical is it that I have control over these circumstances within that particular environment? Because we always have control, right? If somebody says, well, yeah, I'm not making enough money, you say, well, go get a new job. And they're like, well, it's not that easy. Well, yeah, I know it's not that easy. However, you have the option, right? So that's another thing too, is like, are you giving yourself alternatives if the one thing you have on your Christmas list is sold out? What does the next best thing look like? Or are you hell bent on that thing? Are you hell bent on your goals looking a certain way? For me, my biggest goal was focusing on whatever it was I was in control of. I was in control of communicating, right, in my relationships. I was in control of that. I was in control of listening, right? In my professional center, I was in control of being consistent. I was in control of planning. I was in control of content, right? I was in control of doing work. I was in control of building a model that I saw ideal to make me more successful. I was in control of my boundaries. I was in control of doing the inner work. All these things I was in control of. So when the time came, holiday season, I can look back and I can say, well, did I get everything on my list? I got a lot. I definitely got a lot. And I'm grateful for that, right? I really am grateful for that because it came in very different ways. Sometimes they say it's the thought that counts. Yeah, I mean, your thoughts do count for something, yes, because they will kind of align you with what you are curious about, what you want to do next, right? How you want to tackle certain things and situations, and even how you process disappointment, even how you process heartbreak, even how you process what you think is failure, even how you process and take care of success. What does your grown up Christmas list look like? Who is on your grown up Christmas list? And maybe there were some things that you wanted as a kid. Is there an improved version since then? Or do you realize that what you desired as a kid would have just been messy. All of these things truly matter. And I think when you take your time to understand it, especially around this time of year, you slow down. Okay. Because I think this time of year does have a pressure to it of like you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to buy all the gifts. The Christmas tree should be full. How's your heart though? Is that full? What's it filled with? Who is it filled with? How can you take better care of that space? How can you take better care of the people who occupy that space? I saw a quote, as you get older, you just want to spend time with good company. And it's so true. That is a beautiful thing. That is truly a beautiful thing because everything else is like, yeah. But company matters. That is a gift. That is a gift that keeps on giving. Okay. And your own company truly does matter because that is a gift that keeps on giving. Right? So just think about that. What's your Christmas list this year? Did you get everything you wanted? What was on there that you didn't receive? Is it realistic? And check in with that heart space. Check in with other people's heart space. See how they're doing. You know, it's an interesting time, but it can be a beautiful thing to just reflect, I think. But yeah. Something to just think about. I'll leave you guys on that, but I hope you guys have an amazing holiday. And if you are on my IG, follow the IG. Hey, appreciate you for being a part of the 100,000, the 100,000 people that are tuning in to what it is that I have to say. And I really do appreciate the people who have reminded me of how what I said has helped them through a tough time. That's a gift in itself. You know, it's allowed them to grow. It's allowed them to have some peace. It's allowed them to heal. It's allowed them to grieve. Right? Grief is important. All of that matters, and I'm so grateful. That is a gift. That is a gift. That is truly a gift that keeps on giving. So, we just take things a day at a time, right? And we go from there. But with that being said, if you ordered a coloring book, they are on their way. The holiday season gets busy. It gets busy, but they are on their way. So thank you for your patience. All right. With that being said, take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. I probably said it backwards. And more than anything, take flight.